Yeah, of course. Yes. My name is Jeff. I'm a co-founder at Snorkl, and just like quick background, I started my career as a teacher, elementary school. Loved it. I think third to fifth grade. That's the happy zone. That's where the best, most fun teaching. Personal opinion, very biased, of course. We used a lot of technology. Wasn't satisfied with what was going on there. A lot of great tools, of course. Flipgrid, one of them. Also agree. Rest in peace. But decided to get into the industry. I learned how to code, and I worked at another ed tech company for a long time. And then, of course, more recently, started Snorkl. And I do a lot of things there, but mostly, and most importantly, the coding. So I just, John and I work together. We listen to teachers and we build what they want. It's very fun.
Sounds good. And we're also joined by Jon. Jon, if you want to introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, great to be on the show. Thanks for having us. I taught high school math for most of the last decade. I taught originally out in Las Vegas, which is where Jeff and I met. And then here, now I'm based out of Minneapolis, taught at a charter school here for the past 10 years, and I was an instructional coach for a while. And then about 2.5 years ago, Jeff and I started working on Snorkl. So now co-founder of Snorkl, and I'm really excited to share that with folks here today.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you to both of you for agreeing to be a part of the show. And I think more than anything, thank you for developing Snorkl. It's a pretty awesome app. We're going to get into the nitty gritty of it. But before we get into that, I'm really curious. You guys said you met in Las Vegas. Was that at a trade show? Was it at a conference? Like, how did that come about?
We were both teaching at CCSD. Jeff was at elementary school, and I was at the high school, and we just met each other through a variety of different professional development experiences, became great friends, and have a lot of other friends from that time of our lives too. We were young. We were right out of college, and so it was our first job out of college. We learned a lot, I think, those first couple of years in the classroom, as everyone does. And both my parents are teachers, and so I actually didn't plan on. I wasn't sure that I was going to be in education for a long time, but I ended up loving it and spending the last 10 years again in the classroom and being an instructional coach, and just found that really fulfilling. So yeah, that's sort of where Jeff and I came together.
Okay, all right. So Las Vegas, you guys met at professional development opportunities, and that became started the friendship. How did the idea for let's develop this app? And by the way, if you guys can kind of give us just a real quick 30-second elevator speech, what does Snorkl do?
Yeah, so I think we originally saw some teachers using a variety of different tools during the pandemic to record student thinking, and we thought that was really interesting. I taught online during the pandemic. I had my students using some Jamboard, some Screencastify, and just a variety of different ways to capture kids' thinking, because it was hard to really do that. It was hard to really understand how students were approaching problem solving and thinking about things in the pandemic. And so Jeff sort of reached out to me first, and Jeff, I'll let you tell the story a little bit. But I think on my behalf, I fell into it because of Jeff. We had some great conversations early on that I got excited about, and we've just sort of pursued that. But I'll let Jeff tell his part.
All right.
Yeah, of course. No. So like Jon said, we were talking to a lot of teachers, during the pandemic about what they were using, what was working, what wasn't. And we noticed that there was one thing that, obviously the pandemic was a wildly challenging time to teach for so many reasons. So this was just like a little bright spot of like teachers are using Screencastify and some other tools to record and have kids share their thinking out of necessity. But it created these really beautiful, these very rich artifacts of what students understood. And like if you had time to watch them, you learned so much about what students understood. And so we were really excited about that. And even from the beginning, we knew that, okay, well, that's cool, but then what? Because, if I have 30 kids with even like a minute long video, elementary school teacher, that's even as an elementary school teacher, that's too much. If you're a middle or high school teacher, what do you do with all that?
Even as just a regular plain adult, that's a lot to do.
Exactly. No, like who has the time, even if you love that? And it's a rigorous task for the students. It really forces, there's the old saying that you don't really know something unless you can explain it to someone else. And so either way, like there's like barriers there, but we're like, let's explore this. Let's dig into it. And let's see if we can develop something really special. And it just happened that our initial idea was, let's see if we can allow students to watch each other's video, a la Flip, but with like a different modality, maybe a bit more focused around just like the whiteboard, and the idea is less about the glitz and the glamour, which I love about Flip. Don't get me wrong, great use cases, but just a little bit more toned down, maybe something for math and science teachers. And so we did that. We built some prototypes and spoke with a ton of teachers, and a similar piece of feedback, like, this is cool. Like, this is a great task. It's a great cognitive exercise, but students are just not really well positioned to give great feedback. Like, there are certain use cases where that makes sense, but on the whole, that just wasn't where they feel like the most value was going to come. And then November 22 happened. ChatGPT rolls around, yep. And I get my engineering hat on, and I'm like, whoa, this is interesting. And so you just kind of connect the dots. Well, we have this thing that teachers don't have time to listen and give feedback on a regular basis. Could we use AI to at least maybe lift some of that burden? Allow teachers to guide it, but maybe not do all of it, or like give them the high level view of what's going on, and give students exactly what they need more quickly, which of course, couldn't be done before. And that's exactly what we've essentially tested and figured out. And a bit like, honestly, Jon and I were like, this probably isn't going to work. Like, we're going to try this, but let's just see if it works. Probably won't. And the thing is, it did, and it has worked, and it's still continuing to work and get better. And it's like, it blows our mind every single day. Like, it's one of the most fun things to work on, because we're just like, wait, this is possible. And then, we get a chance to, of course, use it with a ton of folks, and they give us feedback. And yeah, sorry, that's the long-winded version of that.
I think a funny story about the origin of that process is, originally when we first started with using the AI tools, we thought, maybe we'll have teachers like train the AI on how to give good feedback. And as we got more into it, and obviously we've been doing a ton of work, that's what we spend a lot of our time doing, is ensuring that we do give great feedback. But we pretty quickly found that it was giving feedback that was already really good. And it sort of flipped the switch around, like, oh, maybe actually we're going to get some great models of good feedback that students will benefit from, but teachers will benefit from seeing as well. And so that's been part of the fun for us.
That's pretty awesome. And I will say, that was the longest 30-second elevator speech. I love it, because it all had to be said. It all had to be said. And on that note, I think it's time to kind of take a little snack break. I don't know about you guys, but I've been on a health kick lately, and I'm all about grapes and blueberries. That's what I got going on. What about you guys? What'd you choose and why?
I got some sharp cheddar cheese. Being based in the Midwest here, I gotta choose the cheese.
All right, sounds good. And that's literally like from down the block, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys were privy to the California commercials growing up, the Got Milk.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember, my wife is from Wisconsin, and she has, obviously Wisconsin, big cheese place, but then there's the commercial from the 90s. Look it up on YouTube, where it's like the California cow out in the sun, having a good time. They ask the grandma about where they're from. They're like, I'm from Wisconsin. She gets upset. And it like freeze frames over to like the grandma years in the past in a blizzard, in snow. And they're like, yeah, we don't talk about Wisconsin. But I say that because I'm eating California cheese. So
there we go. Shots fired.
Medium cheddar.
Okay. All right. I'm a sharp kind of guy. So, all right. There's nothing better to me than a crispy grape. So that's what I'm going to have. And I have a couple more questions for you guys. All right. I remember my first moment when testing Snorkl, and the antennas went up, like, okay, we're on to something here. I like this. Talk to us about that first experience with the AI feedback. Do you recall the prompt?
Oh, that's a great question.
It was definitely a math question.
Yeah, we started in math, and I think we pretty immediately knew we wanted to accomplish a few things with the AI, and that's how it currently works even right now. Is it will tell the student if they got it correct or incorrect. It gives them a score on a 0 through 4 rubric on how strong and clear their explanation is. and then it gives them 2 or 3 pieces of time-stamped feedback. And we knew we wanted all those things because especially in math, like you do care about whether you get it right or wrong. That does matter, but that's not the only thing that matters. And there's so many tools, especially in the math realm, ed tech tools, where that's the only thing that matters. You put in an answer and you're either all right or you're all wrong. And years in the math classroom have taught me that math is and can be, and we want students to view math as far richer and deeper than that. We want students to think about how math can be approached with creativity and communication and all these sort of larger skills. And that's not exclusive to math, right? We want the same to be true in science class. We want the same to be true in how students express their thinking in ELA or whatever subject it is. So we knew we wanted to somehow score it. And then we knew that personalized feedback that was specific to the student's strategy or specific to the student's mistake would be far more insightful than sort of your generic one-size-fits-all feedback that a lot of traditional tools do.
All right, so correct me if I'm wrong. I'm gonna go through the entire scope of a teacher wanting to use Snorkl for the first time. So, to sum it up, Snorkl is it's a student input app in which, or tool if you want to call it, where the teacher will create a prompt of some sort. Maybe it's how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which happens to be my first prompt. Mm-hmm. So then I create my account, which is completely free and single sign in with Google, or is it Microsoft as well?
Yep.
Okay, so Google or Microsoft. So I log in with one of those credentials. I then go and create my first official class. Let's say it's EdTech Bytes period 1. And then from there, I create an activity, or I could search your library of activities. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. So I have I've decided to do how to construct a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I then will receive some sort of feedback or rubric, actually not feedback, rubric based on my input. And I can then edit that and say, instead of looking for these terms, instead of looking for this particular statement or what have you, I want you to focus on these. So I do have the capabilities to edit that. And I can use the whiteboard that you guys have in the background to maybe upload an image and have the students maybe annotate on there as well. Am I correct in saying that so far?
Yeah, we want to create an opportunity for teachers to hone in what the AI is looking for in a student response. So it's not just student responses going into this black box of AI, but teachers get to see that rubric and actually change it if they want to and hone it in on what they want their students to get feedback around so it can really help them meet their learning goals for the class. All
right. So then the prompt is ready to go. I could then click on, share with the class, and it'll give me a unique code, which I can throw into my learning management system, whether it be Google Classroom, Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle, or any other. I can't even think of any others but those 4. Throw it out there. Students respond. I have the ability as a teacher to see their responses, correct?
Yep. Yeah. And
they also get immediate feedback through the artificial intelligence that's built in on the back end. And it hones in on those 4 components of the rubric.
Yeah. That AI is doing work on the student end to give them the personalized feedback. It's also doing work on the teacher end so that as students are submitting their work, the AI is automatically categorizing it for you. It's automatically displaying for you what score students are getting. And then it's actually doing an analysis of trends from across the class, and it can show you a sort of deeper level conceptual analysis of what's happening in student work.
So as I get more responses, the summary will drastically change based on how my students are doing. So if that peanut butter and jelly one, we've probably all done it in elementary or middle school, well, the teacher will say, how do you make a peanut butter? Well, you take the bread and you put the peanut butter on top of the bread, and they'll take the jar of Jif or Peter Pan and throw it on the bread. Like, no, you have to unscrew it. Okay, so now you have to give me all those things. So if I see that a bunch of my students are missing a particular step or two, it kind of summarizes that for me on the back end. That way I have some sort of kind of like an item analysis where I can then say, okay, I need to work with these 4 or 5 students on this particular component of the topic, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. We'll identify those students for you too, so you know who you can follow up with.
All right. Okay. And how much does this cost again?
Yeah, it's free for teachers to get in there, create an account. We're currently doing first year pilots. If your school is interested in unlocking unlimited access, it's $1,000 for your school for the entire year. And then we've got some special pricing for districts too. If there's multiple schools in the district, happy to talk with district leaders about that. But it's free for any teacher to get in there, get started, and start playing around with. So excited to support more folks in there.
Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you guys heard what I heard, but it's free to start off. And if you're looking at a campus, like I could picture one of my campuses right now, there's about 200 staff members. 200 staff members, $1,000. It's maybe $5. Yeah, I had to do the math. I almost had to snorkel that one. Yeah, I had to do the math. But yeah, you're looking at maybe $5 a user if you have a campus that large. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I've messed around with it a lot. I've done some professional development with our department in that, showing them, and it just, the eyebrows when they go up and they're like, wait a minute, that just analyzed everything. And then what I love about it too, and you guys could talk more about it and how this idea came about, but if I did something wrong on my student response and it gives me the feedback, it gives me that point in the video in which where I made the mistake, I can go back and re-record it, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Was that built into it, like in the first iteration, or were you guys like, no, let's give the individuals the capability to resubmit?
I think pretty early on, we knew we wanted kids to be able to resubmit. I think it goes to that piece around a growth mindset, and really wanted to give kids the tools to make corrections and improve. And that's an important part of the learning process. So yeah, that's been in there, I think, early on.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm loving it. I'm all aboard. I do have a couple more questions. Jeff, is there anything that you were going to add to what Jon and I were kind of going back and forth on right now?
No, that's perfect. There's so many great things to share, but I really love what you guys are mentioning so far.
All right.
I'm busy. I have a piece of chocolate here that's distracting me. Sorry. That's
There's this grape that's calling me right here, but I'll wait on that one. But why Snorkl? Why the name Snorkl? Like, how did that come about?
So I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I'm from San Diego.
As am I, sir.
I was going to say where Gabriel, of course, is also from. Beautiful place, great weather. Loved going to the beach as a kid, and my favorite activity was snorkeling. And I don't actually remember when the idea first connected to thinking like, oh, we were thinking about this tool. What do we call it? But I just know that it's always been, I just thought it was this great metaphor of, snorkels, the real snorkels are just goggles and a tube. But when you put them together, a really simple thing, they let you see the world in a totally different way. There's something under the surface that you never would know is there. And so when you think about the metaphor of what we're trying to build, something simple that's uniquely powerful in the classroom. And so that's how we went that direction. And snorkeling is fun. I have great memories. It's funny because sometimes people are like, oh, like the sand and the beach, people don't like beaches. I get it. But like most people have pretty fond memories of like vacation and swimming and things like that. And so it's usually a very fun, thing to associate with. And so that's one of the reasons that we went with it. And that's what we want to do as a company and as a tool. And,
That's
pretty awesome. That's pretty, I never put the two together, that you get to see the world in a different way. That's pretty cool. La Jolla, Mission Beach, or Mission Bay, where would you snorkel?
It's a great question. I mean, there's really, you could snorkel anywhere and you'll have a good time, but there's so many cool things to see at La Jolla, like La Jolla Shores and the Cove. You get to see the sea lions. There's nothing cooler than you do a little dive down and a sea lion just like flies right by you.
It's either really cool or it's time to get it out of the water.
Yeah. Sometimes it's terrifying, but depends on who you are.
Yeah, I remember when doing some boogie boarding in, I think it was at Coronado Beach, and sitting there waiting, and I see a fin come up.
Oh, yeah, that's terrifying.
It's either a dolphin or a shark, and
Yep.
only one way to find out. So I'm out. I'm hitting the coastline.
Fair
It's
enough.
It's a wrap. Okay, so we got the name. We got where it came from. The idea came from you guys meeting, obviously, and a school district in Las Vegas. Very interesting. And then you guys just kind of honed in on this idea, this niche that needed to be filled, and the missing. I guess the big question, at least right now in my particular district, and I know other districts and other states are really honing down on this, is student data privacy. So talk to us a little bit about student data privacy. Number one, will Snorkl sign a student data privacy agreement? And also, what do you guys kind of do with the data, if anything?
Yeah. So first off, we are happy to sign DPA's data privacy agreements with districts. We have many in place in the majority, I think almost every state now at this point. We are also really proud to be iKeepSafe certified. iKeepSafe is a FERPA, COPA compliance third-party organization that does a lot of vetting of ed tech tools. And we're really proud to have their certification. It's something we've been really mindful of from the beginning for a number of reasons. Obviously, because there's legal concerns, but I think there's additional concerns with the layer of AI. And so we've been really intentional about what we do with student data and privacy. Jeff can speak much more to the technical side of it, but I think one thing that's really reassuring for a lot of teachers and schools to hear is that we actually don't share any of students' personal information with any of the AI tools. So we strip out their name. The AI never interacts with or knows who that student is. And then we reattach that student's feedback to their account on our end to provide that student with that personalized feedback.
Got it. So when it hits the AI, as the term the AI, when it hits the AI, it's anonymous. All that information is stripped out. But by the time it pings back and comes back, it attaches back to it. Okay. Yep. All right. What else, Jeff? What do you got for us, man? Did Jon just sum it up in a heartbeat right there?
Jon got it perfectly. No, I've worked in education and for a few years in healthcare as an engineer, and I just take it seriously. You know, we have a lot of folks that we work with the best people in the industry to set up our policies and our engineering and technical and physical safeguards to make sure that this is a secure tool and that the data is being stored and taken care of in the right ways. And that's just been, from day one, super important for us.
That's awesome. And I love how quickly you guys were able to sign that for the state of Texas for us. I submitted it. I might have been the first person I know I was the first person in our district. I might have been the first one in the state to get it out there and push for it. By the time we were back in school, literally like a day or two later, it was done, signed, and within our consortium here in Texas, your name is on there and fully approved for student and for teacher use. So I love it, man. I love it. Now, I noticed you guys are rocking some Snorkl gear back there. Not Snorkl gear as in the mask and the breathing tube, but talk to us. Do you guys have a ambassador program?
We do. Yeah, we have an ambassador program. It meets every month, and it's just a group of teachers, leaders who are passionate about Snorkl and excited to learn more. And so the link for that is available on our social media. You can find us Snorkl app on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. And yeah, I would love to invite folks to be part of it. We get a chance to get some feedback from that group. We share some features that we're working on and testing with that group so we can get additional eyes and feedback on that. And that group sort of stays up to date with all the things that we're currently working on and would love to invite more folks to join.
Sounds good. And all that information and the links are going to be in the show notes too, ladies and gentlemen. That way, not only can you connect with Snorkl on social media, but you can also be a part of their ambassador program if you're interested. Now, a couple other questions really quickly. We talked about student data. You talked about, that monthly meeting with the ambassadors and talking about, maybe some upcoming features you guys are kind of dabbling with. Is there anything on the horizon that you can legally tell us right now?
Ooh. Unveil our deep lockdown secrets, right?
Right. Yeah.
We're always like under the hood. Snorkl is always improving. Every day it gets better. whether that's the quality of the feedback, the ability to listen and understand what students are saying in different languages. A few features that are on the horizon, supporting students in recording these videos. It's a really cognitively challenging task. Not all students are quite ready yet. And we've been working on a coaching feature that can see what students are doing on the whiteboard and allow them to interact. It will actually ask the student questions. It'll start prompting them much in the way that a teacher would come and do if they were going to intervene. And so we're working on that Snorkl coach. We're getting ready to release a beta version of that. There are 3 or 4 other things. I guess you'll have to.
Snorkl coach, is that like the name that you guys have kind of got for it right now?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and it's Snorkl without the E.
That's right.
Yes. No E. Nope.
Yeah. Somebody else took that one, right?
That domain was really expensive. Very, very expensive.
Not worth it. Not worth it. All right. Sounds good. How can people connect with Snorkl and you guys individually on social media?
Yeah, my email is John@snorkl.app and Jeff@snorkl.app. Our website is snorkl.app, and you can find us on all the social medias at Snorkl app. So I would love to be in conversation with anyone who's interested.
Sounds good. And all that information, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be in the show notes, like I said. So don't worry about pulling over on your drive. If you're on your walk right now, if you're walking, I don't know, what's your dog's name? If you're walking lefty or tripod because he's got one leg missing, don't worry about pulling out your Apple Notes or your Google Keep to write down this information. Just go to the show notes when you have a spare moment, click on it, connect with Jeff and John with Snorkl, make sure you sign up for that account. It's free. Start playing around with it. And I guarantee you, when you test with a student or with a colleague for the first time during your conference or planning period, you're going to be floored at the output that you get. And you are immediately, that hamster is going to start turning. It's going to start turning and you're going to be like, okay, I could think of 30 different ways to use this with my class, literally when they come back or tomorrow. So make sure you go down that rabbit hole as I did. And anything else you guys would like to share with our listeners?
Just a huge thank you for having us. And we're excited for what this fall and this year is going to bring. So more things on the horizon.
We've been a big fan of the podcast for a long time. So it's truly, truly exciting for us. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And we didn't even get to how we met at ISTE, but yeah, you were literally wearing a Snorkl, Jeff.
Yeah.
Literally sticking out in the audience in the middle of the AI panel, I believe it was, right?
Yep, that's it. Yeah. A lot of people noticed that. Funny. Huh?
Yeah. And I was literally like a sentence or two deep, and I literally saw you, and I literally stopped what I was saying, and I said,
yeah,
are you wearing a Snorkl in the middle of this session? And lo and behold, you went to another of my sessions, and here we are literally 2 months later.
Love it.
Yeah, great. I do have another surprise question that I ask about 90% of my guests, and I'm about to ask you guys. So I want you to go with your gut and don't overthink it. John, you're first. You ready?
Okay.
Corn tortilla or flour tortilla?
Corn.
Jeff?
I'm embarrassed to say flour, but it's flour. It's more, they don't fall apart.
Okay. All right. And John, if you don't mind elaborating on that, why?
It's just a little bit more complex texture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
And
then they don't fall apart, like you said, Jeff?
I need structural integrity. If I'm having a taco, I want to focus on the ingredients in the taco. I love the taste of corn tortillas, and I wouldn't be upset with it, but they too often they fall right apart.
Okay. I'm a corn guy, so I'm team corn, but I respect a good flour tortilla as well. And I won't say no to a flour tortilla. So awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys for number one, for the tool Snorkl, and you guys, came around to coding this and making it happen and taking an idea and making it into, I'm calling it right now, there's going to be a Snorkl revolution on the horizon. So the wave is the swell is happening, if you want to call it. The swell's coming in. Yeah. Tide's coming in. So there's going to be a Snorkl wave for sure. And thank you for everything you guys contribute to our educational space. You are not from the corporate business world. You were in the world of education, and you did something for educators by educators, which I absolutely love. So I'm going to keep praising your guys' resource that you have for not only our teachers, but our students. And thank you for everything that you guys do. Thank you for being a part of the show and just being a part of our educational space.
Thank you. And our hats off to teachers too. Teaching is hard work. And so just a ton of love and appreciation for everyone who's in the classroom. I know it's been hard after COVID, and so just a ton of appreciation for everyone who's doing that good work.
All right. Sounds good. Well, you guys have a great rest of the day, and we will talk soon.
Bye.
Thank you.